everyone, and thank you for joining us here at CabinSpace Live today. We are running a session called Connected Cabin, making the most of AI. And I'm Satu Dal, I'm the editor of In-Flight magazine, and we're running all the sessions here today. So it's certainly a fascinating topic and a very complex one. And we're very lucky to have a brilliant panel here today. Would you like to all just tell your names, share a bit about yourselves and your roles in your companies, please?
Sure. Thank you, Satu. I'm Reza Rasulian. I'm responsible for the aviation business unit at Hughes. We do commercial and business aircraft, delivering connectivity for over a decade. More recently, we partnered with Delta Airlines to equip their regional jet fleet, and now their A350 and A321neos coming from Airbus. So excited to be here today and to have a conversation.
Thank you, Reza.
Hi, I'm David Miller. I'm the CTO for a company called In-Flight Dublin. We specialized in content provision for IFE systems, but also wireless software and hardware for provision of in-flight entertainment systems within the cabin. So typically they'd be disconnected, but can be connected also.
Thank you. And we have here, I just wanted to mention that SES, one of the sponsors here, unfortunately Aditya Chatterjee was unable to attend the session. He was originally planned to speak, but very fortunate for us, Mike from Quivia has taken his place today. And Mike, would you like to also share something?
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. And yeah, we hope Chatterjee feels better, so you got me instead. But my name is Mike Moeller, and I lead the aviation business unit at Qvia, formerly Neuron. And what we do is we provide airlines with an independent quality of experience measurement, a tool that they can get minute by minute what's going on with their fleet, and then be able to look at that behind the scenes with AI and a lot of unique tools that we'll be talking about today. And then we're also doing a network orchestration product. We just announced something with ThinCom earlier today where we'll be helping them do a product called Grid, which would be a AI-based network orchestration for multi-orbit, multi-provider type of services.
Good, so I'm Antonio Pni, I'm from Apex, so the Airline Passenger Experience Association. So I'm the Airline Engagement Director. Basically, I work closely with the top 100 global airlines. And this is a really good topic that we will speak today because this is the next feature of all the airlines. They are implementing more and more, so the connected cabin will be like the future of the cabin. So yeah, so I'm really happy to be here and to discuss this subject.
Thank you, everyone. This is, I think, definitely going to shape up to be a very interesting discussion. And I was thinking we could start with how AI technology has evolved over the years and what it is today. So David, you've been involved in AI since the 80s, so you're really an expert on this.
Thank you for exposing my age to the group. So yes, I had the pleasure of working for a company in the AI space back in the late 80s. It was what were then called expert systems, written in languages like Prolog and Lisp. And the whole idea is you'd have these expert systems helping you do your shopping, etc. for it. And the AI technology itself really kicked off back in the 50s as a mathematical discipline. And what happened in the 80s was there was a big push with the Japanese ICOT program, which is taken up in the UK as well, to try and bring it to the mainstream. One of the challenges that AI and expert systems had back then, there were three main challenges, and those challenges actually still remain today. So I think we just need to be aware of. Back then, there was a problem with computing power. There wasn't enough computing power to handle it. And that's been addressed fundamentally with NVIDIA and other players, but they always want more computing power to do these things. The other one was the data that you were training an AI system on. And that really is one of the more fundamental problems. And if you look at today's world of generative AI with ChatGPT and DeepSeek and Grok and all these ones that are out there, unfortunately, their main source of training data is probably the worst source of training data, which is the global internet, which is kind of a cesspit of data. So getting accurate data to train on has always been tricky. And related to that, the third problem has been when an AI system comes up with recommendations or analysis, it always needs to be able to explain how it came to that decision. So the explainability of a result in terms of how you do, just like you deal with any kind of human expert as well. How do you come up with that decision? And I think that those last two problems really are the challenges that still remain today. Now, in the aviation space, I think the analysis of historic flight data, retail data, qualities of service, as Jim was saying, huge aspects for AI to be adapted there. In the connected cabin, in flight, maybe less so. I saw Joe posted on LinkedIn about how he got an AI system to rebook his flight there recently.
Yes.
So, and then Seth Miller comes back saying, "Well, really, you're using all that, all the trees on the planet to basically try and rebook a flight? Is that really what the best use of this technology is?" So I think we're still trying to find where the best technology can be applied within the space, and I think aviation is a unique area for that.
Absolutely. And Mike, you're also, shall we say, veteran in this industry. How have you seen the AI landscape sort of shaping up in the past year?
Yeah, I'm kind of the older guy, probably in the room. I got 3 grandkids, so I got the grandkids, and so AI is always, I've always felt it. It's like the younger generation doing the cool things, making these things that, and I was like trying to figure it all out. And then when I came to Qvia about 16 months ago, everything that Qvia does is data-driven, data generation, AI, using AI to simplify. And so I've had to try to understand all of that. I mean, I was around in this space back at AIX when I was at a company called Live TV when we were launching on Beta Blue 30 kilobits per second to the aircraft, and we all thought that was really, really cool. This is not that long ago. This was in 2007. So things have come a long ways to go do that. But what I like to think about is AI is how it makes it simpler for our customers to do things. So give you an example. One of those could be, we generate a lot of, for our QoE product in our user interface, there's a lot of information in there, just tons of information of flights and how the last flight was, the last 3 flights, whatever that may be, fleets, different types. And so now we're using generative AI to be able to use natural language to go, show me the last 3 flights that have the lowest QoE, and that immediately pulls it back up. Or show me all of the flights coming from Europe that has a low QoE. So that is how I see how AI is changing for our customers, because it's able to work through this immense amount of data and simplify it and coming out to go do that. So that's one area. Another area that we're using AI very, very big is in a product that we call Grid. And that's network orchestration. AI is a big piece of that. It's big in cruise. We're about 60% of the cruise marketplace. But basically what it's allowed to do there is that now with so many different networks, LEO, GEO, MEO, different parts of the world, different geopolitical statements, different pricing in different parts of the world, and then when you take into effect an airplane that is moving, banking, moving in and out of that all over the world, the calculations, the amount of someone trying to be able to code in, hey, LEO gets Microsoft Exchange or Geo gets streaming. Those kind of go out the window because the dynamic is changing so rapidly. So we use AI and we recalculate every 50 milliseconds where that traffic goes, depending upon where it is in the world, what the traffic looks like, congestion over one link or the other. And so that's the ways that I see how AI is changing our industry, because it's still about making the quality experience great, but it's using that tool in the background that is just so much, because it's so much more complex.
All right, yes, thank you so much, Mike. That's really insightful. And then if you think about things from a slightly different angle, as a connectivity provider at Hughes, so Reza, would you like to share some of your insight into how Hughes utilizes AI to optimize the solutions that you offer airlines?
Yeah, absolutely. So from a Hughes perspective, as a managed service provider on a global scale, we've been leveraging AI in the ground segment for over a decade. And I think previously there were kind of self-healing networks, and now we have smarter self-healing networks. So in a very dynamic, whether it's weather coming in to a gateway, and we have to decide which gateway to switch in as an example, or on wing, if there's a specific component or part, LRU, on the aircraft that is about to fail, we're actually leveraging telemetry from every single point, not only on the aircraft, but also on the ground segment, and putting this all together in our models to anticipate when there will be problems. And I think that it's the predictive part that we're most excited about, because frankly, passengers are frustrated. And for us, we're on a mission to relieve the passengers from frustration, which will ultimately help airlines generate more revenue and higher net promoter score. And again, it's just kind of a snowball effect from there. The other interesting thing that we've recently done, we're using generative AI vis-a-vis virtual assistants for our airline partners to enable them to query an aircraft to be able to interrogate and see what's happening. And again, there's so much data that for a human to actually go to each system and each component, it would take hours and sometimes days. We simplify it and make it easy. And I think that really is the benefit of some of these newer techniques and these newer systems and solutions to be able to make our lives easier in a productive way.
Absolutely. Yes, I think it's so crucial to simplify things when it comes to complex areas like this. Obviously streamline operations for airlines. And Antonio, at Apex, you must have seen some recent developments on how airlines use the data insights to streamline cabin operations.
Yes, so in Apex we have the Innovation Awards. So basically when airline is creating something, we will check it there. So it's so good that in nowadays, like the airlines are using this new technology to increase the passenger experience on board. So with disconnected cabin, basically now you can have features that you don't have like 10 years ago. So basically for the passenger preferences, basically, but also what's the topic that we spoke briefly, it's the accessibility for some passengers, everything that is related with the journey of the passenger in the aircraft. So yes, so Apex, we are deeply go on this subject in our Apex Tech and then in the Global Expo, because we are checking that some and more airlines are putting this on board. Basically, for example, with the mobile app, they are synchronizing, so the passengers just sit down and have everything like dietary, like preferences or restrictions. So I think it is really productive in our days for we have this technology on board more and more. And Apex is working closely with some airlines to catch the correct suppliers, and depends of the needs of each airline. But yeah, I think this is the topic that's like it's the generations, we spoke the new generation that they like to go on board, check it's the GUI, what is in the GUI, content, games on board. We are having now in-flight virtual reality on board. There is more and more. I seen the other day I came in a flight and was a person with a device. So this is incredible. This is like now just for like long journeys, flights. I remember when I went to Australia, 22 hours flight.
Yes.
It's tough. So it's good that right now we have so many options, and for us, for Apex, it's so productive that airlines are doing more and more for everyone.
Absolutely. So, of course, the connectivity is the critical element of providing all this data and insights and streamlining everything. Reza, what would you say are sort of the key points airlines need to consider when choosing a connectivity solution?
I would sum it up to one word: flexibility.
Okay, yes.
I think, when we looked at the capacity landscape and we listened to airlines, what we heard was, they didn't want to get locked into one certain solution. They wanted flexibility. And I think there's a whole theory about multi-orbit out there, and we like to say simultaneous multi-orbit. And again, I think it's important to remember there's kind of a wide spectrum of enablements. You have some airlines that want full free streaming, kind of the optimum situation, and then you have other airlines that are still happy with a paid model. And from a Hughes perspective, we're happy to enable any of those outcomes. And I think this goes back to flexibility, optionality. Don't lock yourself into a certain constellation or a provider. So with our fusion system, we're blending GEO and LEO. And at the satellite show in Washington about 3 weeks ago, we were proud to announce our partnership with Delta Airlines on the A350s and A321neos. And again, that is kind of our cornerstone, is providing flexibility and performance to the aviation community and commercial aero.
Indeed, yes. And then Mike, how do you say or consider when it comes to passenger requirements? When it comes to passenger requirements, providers such as SES, how do they, their solutions like the SES Open Orbits, ensure that they meet the needs?
Sure. Yeah. Let me. I'll talk through that. So, Qvia has announced a relationship partnership with SES, a very close relationship with them in the cruise industry, where their MEO system is very, very powerful, and also in aviation. And so, how we're working with SES is they've really embraced the idea of QoE. What is the quality of experience? This industry has kind of been locked for years on SLAs, availability, latency, bandwidth to the passenger, bandwidth to the plane, whatever that may be. And SES has really embraced and working with us on QoE, and how having that data real time, QoE, and looking down the pipes, understand that, and then being able to, if an aircraft needs more bandwidth, that we're able to work with them behind the scenes into their network to make sure that that aircraft gets that and maintains the QoE. So it's very exciting when you see an IFC provider embrace QoE as their baseline, because that's really what it matters in the end. You can have great SLAs, but the passenger experience sometimes could be not very good. So that's one area. Wanted to kind of talk about, I think, how connectivity and QoE, how it's playing together in AI. I was in some panels yesterday, and a lot of talk about AI in the cabin, impacts in the cabin, what that can do, flight crew and others. And one common theme that kept coming out was connectivity, data, connectivity, and having reliable connectivity. So Reza, at Hughes is going down the right path, right? The idea of having two simultaneous antennas on an aircraft. 3 years ago, you would be laughed out of the room if you talked about putting two antennas on an aircraft. It was crazy, right? I mean, everybody would go, that will never happen. And now suddenly the cycles that airlines are walking through is literally now every 3 to 4 years, the technology is changing. And how does an airline manage that when it takes a year to do an RFP, or 6 months to do an RFP, a year to do the first aircraft to get the STC, and 3 years maybe to do a fleet? So by the time they're halfway through the fleet being deployed, the technology has changed again, and we see that, right? We see the impacts of Starlink in the space and what is happening. And now here's Kuiper, who is coming, and you got Telesat. And so an airline will look at this industry and look at all the technologies, and I agree with Reza when he says they want it to be future-proof. They want to make a decision that they feel will last at least for the next 10 years by the time they go do that, right? And that is, and we agree with that, and we think that it's not only multi-orbit, and not only is it multi-link, but we even question, can we move into multi-provider? Could there be a Hughes and a Viasat on the same aircraft? Could there be a Starlink and a Kuiper on the same aircraft? Or could we have an SES and a OneWeb or whatever? So when you start to think about that, then suddenly connectivity becomes, you get redundancy, you got you're able to do network orchestration to put that down the right pipe, and then suddenly the doors open for AI and all of these new applications that the airlines want to go do, but they need to know that connectivity is there, it's consistent, it's good, and it's ubiquitous around the world. And when that happens, I think we'll see AI and all those applications really take off.
Indeed. Thank you, Mike. So if we then talk about cabin operations, and there's of course many different possibilities to gain from AI and machine learning. David, would you like to share your thoughts on what cabin operations you think would benefit the most?
I think there has to be a little bit of caution here with some of this, because if you're assuming that connectivity is absolutely there all the time, it may not be the case. Okay, so any systems you provide, you have to be able to gracefully degrade to sort of work without the connectivity there, but you can still have AI systems on board that would help with things like recommendation engines, that would help with chatbots, stuff like that is possible. Is possible also. At the end of the day, I think what an airline wants is to provide is like that couch experience that people are used to on the ground in the air, and that's and the crew are trying to enable that also. I think whether it's Ka band, Ku band, Starlink, whatever, the passenger doesn't really care.
Correct.
They just want the connectivity. Okay?
Right.
And the risk for the airline is very similar to the risk that was seen in the mobile telephony space years ago, where all the mobile operators started providing data services, 3G services, 4G services, 5G services. The problem is they were just providing the pipe. They weren't making any of the money. And I think the challenge still remains on the connectivity side is how is the airline going to protect its brand and its experience to basically, so the passenger is remembering the airline and not the pipe that the experience came over.
Agreed.
And I think AI can contribute to a lot of that, but I think fundamentally that's what the airline needs to be looking for. Is how can we make money from this thing, and how can we protect the experience so people say that's unique for our airline, whether it's within cabin operations or the passenger experience. I mean, in our world and in-flight entertainment, we're utilizing everything like translation services, recommendation engines, things like that. But there's a limit to how much you're going to get out of it in the environment you're in. But the focus has got to be in what's that passenger experience and what is that airline brand, because that's what the airline is trying to protect at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Antonio, so you obviously work with airlines, and I assume I could say you educate them in various areas and operations on how to make most of things. And you run an event called Apex Tech, and
Yes.
I believe you sort of...
So Apex Tech will be in LA in May. So basically, we go deeply to all the subjects. So we will have sessions that we will discuss like deeply, more the technical side. That's so I'm engineer, so that's why I love like these sessions. So yes, so what we do is basically to give to the airlines all their doubts that they have, and that sessions will just give to them a more explanation or a more for they decide what they put on board. So in our days, for example, the GUI, the contents, so everything is important for the passenger experience. And with the connected cabin will come new challenges for principle for the streaming side. And so will be good for we discuss in Apex Tech more and more what will be the future of the cabin. Because there is some subjects that's some laws, some licenses. There is a lot that need to be discussed, and needs to be, in this case, for they check, principal airlines, for they check what is the proper way for they feel comfortable to give the passengers everything. And for example, the content providers, they are like working with the studios, with everyone. And principal now with the connectivity, there is increasing more and more. I remember like 10 years ago, like just some airlines installed connectivity because it was really expensive. But now the game changed. And you are checking now airlines with the really old systems, EFE systems, but they are installing connectivity. So they are not investing in the new EFE systems, but they are investing in connectivity. Some Apex airlines are doing that, so yeah.
Indeed, thank you. If we talk about airlines that are sort of the leaders of the connectivity, or provide connectivity on board, Delta has partnered with Hughes recently to develop a next generation solution. Would you like to share some details about it, Reza, a bit more insight?
Sure, yeah. So we're proud to partner with Delta on our Fusion platform. It's actually a journey that started when we were awarded the regional jet 717 fleet over two years ago. And that solution will actually fly this in the second half of the year, so in Q4, where we have a thin-comm antenna, and we have our Hughes Ku-band LEO ESA, and we blend GEO and LEO with our Fusion system back to truly giving the passenger an amazing experience. You know, Delta, I think, very publicly shares that they're passionate about a fantastic connectivity experience. They have very sophisticated tools on board to make sure that it's a fantastic experience. And we're really proud to partner with them, not only to bring the solution to the 717 fleet, but now the A350 and the A321neo. So they're really curating an exceptional user experience for the passenger. And again, you know, I think we're in a world where we all want to be connected all the time. Just not knowing that you're not going to have a interruption on a flight. Imagine that world, right? If you need to get a document completed, or if you need to do an important financial transaction. So we're rapidly moving into this space. So these networks where, again, a lot of folks talk about multi-orbit. We like to say simultaneous multi-orbit, which is what we believe will be the premier solutions in the marketplace to help the passengers.
Great, thank you, Reza. And you mentioned multi-orbit and how you would phrase it. So, of course, all of that enhances cabin operations because it's a seamless connectivity, right? Would you like to comment on that a little bit, how you achieve that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's seamless because you have multiple antennas operating at the same time. So in the event, and look, they're electronics, so electronics will fail. Not only do we have a predictive element to anticipate failures, to proactively let the line maintenance teams know that either an access point, a server, an antenna is about to fail, which also helps increase satisfaction. But the fact that we have two dual illumination of the aircraft creates that resiliency that has never been there before, frankly. You know, there's 10,000 connected aircraft today. Maybe we see a show of hands. Who's had a bad experience on an airplane? Probably more than half of the folks here. So it's unfortunate, right? We've come to expect a good experience in anything we do. And I think satisfaction, whether it's the passenger or even the crew, think about weather updates, think about turbulence avoidance, think about crowdsourcing of data via a fleet. All that is possible now because of the resiliency that we're adding to these networks. So again, I think we're very excited, frankly, and we have a lot of interest. We've had a lot of great meetings here at AIX. We had a lot of other meetings prior to the show, after we made the announcement, because I think we mentioned it, maybe a couple of years ago, no one would have thought about having multiple antenna systems. And again, we've partnered with ThinkCom. We have a couple different options. We can do an add-on LEO with our Fusion to an existing installation. We can do a full-up installation. We're, again, working on line fit programs. Retrofit's not a problem. So, again, a lot of options to help the passenger.
Brilliant, thank you. And you've just announced this morning with the partnership with the Airbus HPC Plus. I was there at the press conference, so congratulations.
Thank you.
And I think that's all about providing more choice for the carriers and being more sort of open. And so, yeah, would you like to comment on that since it's just come out this morning?
Thank you, Satya. Absolutely. So, yeah, we're excited to, I think 8 months ago we talked about an MOU with Airbus, and I think this just shows the speed at which Hughes as a company is moving in the industry, again, back to helping our airline partners and ultimately the passenger. So we're excited about HPC Plus to be a Ka-band MSP. It just makes it easier for the airline community to select a Hughes solution. We think it's a great approach. Again, there's a retrofit option as well. So for Airbus fleets that are split between line fit and retrofit, we're able to help in that as well. And again, we're providing a GEO system today with a path to LEO. That's an either-or solution, but again, that's also not a bad solution. To the extent that customers want fusion, or working together closely with Airbus to enable that as well. So again, a lot of great interest from airlines that we're very happy about.
Thank you, Reza. I guess one thing that we haven't really spoken very much about is the investment and return of investment for airlines. Would you like to comment on which areas you think is worth the investment to invest on connectivity, the benefits that it brings?
Sure. Like anything, there's a certain ROI. And for each airline, I think it's a little different. And there are different monetization opportunities. I think the industry as a whole has, obviously there's ads, there's, video content that can be shared prior. There's partnerships with telcos that have worked. And for other airlines, loyalty. The loyalty programs have so much value that it makes sense to make an additional investment per passenger to enable the connectivity. I think it really depends on the airline and their strategy and their desire to leverage connectivity as one of the benefits of leveraging that airline. I know in some regions it's a differentiator to get a higher fill rate on the aircraft. Differentiator, airline A has connectivity, airline B doesn't have connectivity. And again, so there's very direct measurements and there's indirect measurements. So in all the conversations that we're having, look, we're very flexible and open and having those conversations and bringing in third parties to help, and some, it's regional as well. I think in some areas, there's certain local partners that would also like to be associated with a certain airline. And we welcome that. We're very open in our partnership approach.
Brilliant. Do any of you have?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of sometimes trying to understand kind of network orchestration, the things like that Hughes is getting ready to go do with their Fusion. Wanted to kind of use an example. We are also in the cruise industry. We have a grid product where we do network orchestration, and we have about 60% of the cruise market by the end of this year. And we often think of the cruise market as about 5 years before aviation. And I thought it would probably be an opportunity here to kind of just talk about kind of what's happened in the cruise. I'm sure everybody's taken a cruise here and had a bad experience, but now with the advent of Starlink and LEOs and non-geostationary MEOs, like with mPOWER, and you put network orchestration on that, what I will tell you is that Carnival Cruise Line is one of our largest customers, and their CEO now says, we don't think and worry about Wi-Fi ever again. Yeah. It's changed. And let me give you an example of what happens on a cruise ship. There will probably be 14 Starlink antennas on a cruise ship. There will be a GEO-KA and a GEO-KU. There will be a couple of mPOWER, MEO antennas. There's long-range microwave. There's 5G. There's fiber when they get to shore. There's Wi-Fi, long-range microwave. There's C-band. All of these different, 30 different antenna systems connections. And so what Qvia does is lays on top of that our grid solution, which uses AI, making those decisions every 50 milliseconds, on using all of those links, kind of combining those together and routing the traffic. Now, the interesting part about that is that one ship may go into a storm, right, at sea, a heavy rain shower, and KU and KA will become inoperable. And so what happens is our grid solution will tell all of the other ships to release their C-band capacity so that that ship can use C-band to push all the telecommunications out while they're in the midst of that rainstorm. And then when it comes out, it will equalize. So not only can grid just handle like an aircraft perspective or a ship routing the traffic, it now also looks at what's going on in other parts of the network. And when you take that from what is going on in cruise to aviation, it gets exciting because now we can look at planes that are an airplane's flying over an airport. How are you routing that traffic between different aircraft over different networks, over different parts of the world, over different times of the day? Because there will be Monday morning, you get on an aircraft Monday morning and fly between, let's say, New York to LA, and that flight may not be a good experience, and it's the money route for an airline, but yet if you get on that flight on Sunday morning, it's fine, right? Because that congestion exists on certain days of the week and not on others. And so the key to kind of having AI in all of this is to be able to real time do that routing of the network, because we live in a dynamic world from a standpoint of time of day, day of the week, because airplanes are moving so fast in and out of certain areas. And I thought maybe that example of cruise is helpful because I think it helps us cast a vision. It helped me cast an understanding what the possible was in aviation when suddenly an airline says, I don't worry about connectivity, it always works, it's always good, and that opens up new business opportunities.
Great, thank you, Mike. That's really interesting, actually. And I think we unfortunately running out of time, but we still have some time for maybe final thoughts about the future. If you'd any of you like to share anything.
Sure. Just, I mean, the main thing is AI is just another tool. I mean, I think it does get overhyped, let's be honest, about whether people think it can do anything. I think the whole generative AI, the natural language interfaces, has given it people tend to think that is AI, whereas in reality, the real powerful AI is all the machine learning stuff in the back end, the analysis of the very, very large data sets to allow you to do things like your grid solutions, etc. I think that's where airlines need to look to leverage those large data sets that they already have, they just don't realize they have it, feed it into a system, and then basically get some recommendations out of it. And it's just a tool to help you be more efficient and more flexible. And it should be approached as simply as that, as opposed to thinking it's going to basically do everything for everybody.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, good point.
Yes.
Okay, so for me, I'm just saying that talking about this topic again, this is more and more like a topic that a lot of airlines are implementing on board. Mm-hmm. So I'm just making the invite to everyone, like for our Apex Tech that will be in LA, and for our Global X1 in September, that we will definitely discuss, and we will show, some airlines will do like a showcase with all the AI that they have on board, some examples like Delta, United. So basically, thank you so much to be part of this panel. And we want that next year more airlines have implemented, and we are here like discussing again.
Thank you, Antonio. Right, so we have time for a few questions here. Just raise your hand if you have a question. Anyone? Anyone? It's been definitely fascinating discussion.
Can I give one final? I'll give my final thought. And
Yes.
It's a very exciting time in this space. I think that when we talk about we've talked about AI, we've talked about connectivity, the impacts of that. I think we all know that the answer is how do we make the passenger happy, right? How do we provide a solution, a tool to an airline so they can excite and please their customers and passengers? And when we do that, right, we realize that we're not only impacting maybe a business traveler, but also a family with kids.
Yes, yeah.
Or one of my good friends was on a Southwest flight, and he helped Southwest put that on their airplane, and he found out that he had his 5th grandchild while he was flying.
Oh, wow.
Right? And that'd be cool. Imagine
Yeah.
that you were part of that, and you're on the plane, and just like they're sending you pictures of your grandchild, right? And that is, life happens. We all travel a lot. Life happens even when we're on the airplanes. And I think when it's all said and done, when we can bring that on board an aircraft so that people are excited about it and get on and to go, you know what, I could just continue to speak with my loved ones, let them know I'm late, let them know I'm early, let them know I love them. That's when we've done something really, really positive. And I think all of the things that we've talked about today are all part of that journey. So.
Brilliant, indeed. Well, thank you so much for all of you being part of the panel. And thank you for the audience too, that you joined us today.